Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm here busting some sweat in the garage again. Sorry I missed last week, but I had a family commitment and I had to, be out of town. So I couldn't make it to get a video done and the week was just crazy. But we're back and we're working on the 2GR again. Hey, I sound like a broken record, but that's what we're doing. And last week we kind of mocked up everything and I didn't put the belt on. But off camera, I went ahead and put the belt in place and now I'm kind of questioning myself. So I want to get your guys' opinion on this tensioner right here, which is the one I reused, because I'm going to show you in a second here what's going on, but I think this tensioner might be bad. Not sure, but for all you guys who have done the 2GR swap, maybe you can help me out. Now, I'm asking for help, but I'm also helping myself. So jumping right into it, essentially this pulley, and let me show you, if I push down on it, so watch what's going to happen right here. And this is just me simply, look, I'm just sitting here, just pushing my arm, and I see this tensioner moving. Now, I'm not really used to that, at least not on the German cars. Look, see that? Like, I'm really not even trying very hard to push it. I'm just, as you can see, one hand, this is just two hands, and this thing is moving. So I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, but what I did was, I bought a replacement. And honestly, I got a cheap one off of Rock Auto. So I bought a replacement one. So what that means is we're going to remove this one. So I got to pull everything back off again. I'm going to try this one to see, and maybe that's normal. I'm sure I'll hear in the comment section. If it's not, we're going to see what a new one looks like. So it gives you guys some context as to what this thing, hopefully brand new and in good condition, what type of pressure it puts on the belt. The belt feels good, but I'm just concerned if I can push with my hand here. Once this engine is rotating, how is that going to work? Is it normal? And if it's not normal, then that means I got to try to take the AC compressor, alternator, everything back out when the engine is installed, and I just don't want to go through that route. So I went on the safe side, hopefully, and ordered a new one. So we're going to go ahead and pull it off. In the meantime, let me just give you some torque specs. So ideally, you want to have a monster torque wrench like this, because you got to get this bolt torqued. This is 184 foot-pounds, so just kind of, it's hard to show on camera because it's a two-man job, but basically you get your torque wrench here, and then what I did was take the screwdriver, and I kind of came around to the flex plate side, which will become a flywheel eventually, because we're doing manual transmission, and basically just hold this thing in place right here. So once you put your torque, the flex plate does the crankshaft does not spin on you, and you can basically torque it in place. Already did that, but just wanted to show you guys what the process will look like. Essentially, you got one person holding it here, and you're busting down, trying to get 184 foot-pounds on that crank bolt. So let's start removing these things and figure out what's going on with this tensioner. We're gonna start the disassembly. So this is kind of, I guess it kind of works out for the video at least, just to kind of see what's going on with this, because we have to pull this apart, and it kind of gives you some perspective as to, if we're doing the installation, but now you see how to actually remove it. So this is the Frankenstein engine mount, and I think I mentioned in the last video, there's very little clearance right here. So Frankenstein basically recommends grinding a little bit of this engine mount off, depending on how close your tolerance is. But I'm gonna see if I can get this belt off as is without having to grind it. So if I basically push up on the tensioner, it makes the belt go loose, as you can see, like that. And as you can, I don't know, I'm not putting a lot of force on it. And just one hand. I'm used to, on the German cars, putting a lot bit more effort into this to get it off. But basically there it is. And now we're gonna see if I can actually slip this belt off, assuming I had it in the car. Can I get it out? And there you go, see? Look what's happening here. So it's very difficult. I could probably force it out, but then trying to get it back in would be a problem. And I don't want to damage this belt. So yeah, I don't know if you can see on camera, that little white area I marked it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind that down so that way I have some clearance so I can remove this belt. So again, this just kind of shows me removing the belt, essentially what modifications we need to do to the engine mount. I'm gonna go ahead and take the mount off, get the belt out, and then we're gonna start to mess around by removing all these things. So we'll just time lapse that for now, and we'll get right back to put on the new one. Alright guys, that was a quick disassembly. Now, the alternator, I left it hanging, so it says just hanging with the top bolt secured. Now, if you were to do this in the car, more likely you're gonna have to take this alternator out, right? So, but for the purpose of what we're doing, you can just let it swing and we can work, because obviously we have all the space in the garage. Again, if it was in the car, definitely all of this stuff is coming out just to get to this tensioner, which a lot of people say it's kind of a bad design, but whatever, it is a design, that's how Toyota did it. Now, looking at the tensioners, I'm just gonna compare now. This one is off of Rock Auto. It's from a brand called SKP. You know, I know there's quality parts and stuff, but nowadays I feel like if you don't know how to make these things, then kind of in a bad situation, but I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the weight of this, so I don't have a scale. I'm just kind of using my hands here, and this does feel a little bit heavier. So, you know, maybe this is definitely an inferior part compared to obviously a factory Toyota piece, but I can tell they look identical. I did some online reviews and a lot of people seem to be happy with the SKP brand. So bearing seems smooth. So we're gonna put this in, we're gonna check the tension on the spring and see if it's the same as what we had with that one, and then that's the only way we're gonna really know without having prior knowledge about these cars if this is working or not working as it should. So let's go ahead and throw this in. It's just basically gonna be the reverse. There are 5 bolts to put this back in. This is bolt 1, that's bolt 2. So you tighten everything up, all 5 in, snug. Then you tighten bolt 1, bolt 2, and then you go ahead and torque everything. Alright, so I'm going to torque these 32 foot-pounds, and then we're going to do a quick check on the tensioner just to see how that thing feels compared to the prior one. Honestly, I think I might be overreacting, but I just don't want to have to go mess with this engine once it's in, especially when I have so much time outside of the car. I mean, that part was not too expensive. I paid like 50 bucks. So I figure for $50 is not worth the hassle of trying to use a used part. That did come pretty rusty, and I tried to clean it up as best as I could. So, you know, who knows? You guys who have done this before, welcome your feedback, so let me know what you guys think. So that's considered bolt 1, bolt 2, and then the rest you just torque them 32 foot-pounds. Now, one thing I just realized is that this sensor is stuck behind the AC compressor. So when I do get that wiring harness, I guess I'm putting a mental note to myself here on the video that I gotta remember to plug this wire in. And it looks kind of weird just trying to get to figuring out how this would be plugged in. So when I put this AC compressor on, I'm gonna double check to see if I can actually get the plug in. Otherwise, I probably just won't torque these down until that harness comes in, which hopefully soon here. But anyways, they're torqued. We're gonna get the AC compressor back on, bolt everything up. In the meantime, let's see. Let me just kind of pull on this thing. Yeah, honestly, it kind of feels pretty much the same tension as the original OEM piece. So chances are it's probably gonna behave the same as it did before. So who knows, it might be normal, but let's put everything back together and make a final conclusion. All right, moving on to the alternator. So everybody has the torque specs, 32 foot-pounds on these two 14 millimeters. So 32 on the top, 32 on the bottom. And then for the bracket over here, we're gonna go 15 foot-pounds on those 2 bolts. All right, so this bracket, I had to loosen the inner bolt here just to kind of get this to go back in position. And somebody did ask me on the comment section what this bracket is for. So as you guys can see, it ties the right side of the alternator to the block. So here's the through bolt is right up here on the bottom side, and then this just kind of firms it up on the bottom end. So just, you know, if you're curious what it is, there it is. Now you know. A lot of cars are missing these when you get them. So if you really don't know about this bracket, you're probably won't realize that it's missing off your car. So just something to make a note of. Obviously they put it there for a reason, so it would be good to get it back on your vehicle. 15 foot-pounds here, not a lot. Probably could go get away with hand tightening this, but I like to torque everything. So alternator is back in place. Now let's get the AC compressor and throw this belt on. Alright, so I got these bolts from Toyota. They're for our 2GR from the Avalon. And I had to put some spacers because for some reason they weren't going all the way in and I didn't want to cross thread anything. So if you do buy those bolts from Toyota, just bear in mind you may have to put some spacers. I'm assuming, you know, every part might have different tolerances, but in my case, it didn't seem to be working without a spacer, so I had to throw some spacers in there. Essentially 4 bolts is what will get this 1GR compressor on. So just take your time, work everything in by hand. That way you don't cross thread anything. And you should be golden. Alright, just looking, we got a compressor on, and I guess I could put my hand back here and get that wire harness plugged in. I need to put a dipstick in, so I'll probably hold off on doing that. So when I get that harness, I can plug it in properly, then add the dipstick here. And I kind of mocked up the headers because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put this in yet, but that's kind of telling me just wait for the harness, put it in, then we get headers and everything that side done. But we're on the home stretch here, so let's get the belt on. I'm just going to tighten this part up, torque these down, and let me go find the torque specs and share it with you guys, and we'll move on to the belt. Alright, so 4 bolts and 15 foot-pounds. So that's it. Not a lot of torque for the AC compressor. We have that on. So now we're going to slip the belt on. And obviously you can find this belt routing online, but I tell you, it's kind of crazy just trying to figure it out. But essentially, here's the trick. Just put these two right in between here. Get it over the water pump, and then you just follow everything else where basically you need to get it in the grooves. So once I get that, and I kind of slip this over the crank here, and there you go. And now we're gonna pick up the tension and slip this thing on. So we'll put this here, and this bolt is reverse thread, so don't worry about loosening this bolt by going anti-clockwise. So we're gonna go like that, and there's another trick. You gotta get it from this side because you gotta slip the belt over. Alright, so there you go. So just make sure everything is in the proper groove. Go anti-clockwise on this guy. Just make sure everything is centered up, and it looks good right here. And now we're gonna do that test that I did at the start of the video. So let's see if I wasted my time doing this. Alright, so it moves, but honestly I feel like, I don't know, I guess it's the same thing. So all in all, I think I overreacted and bought a new tensioner, but we're gonna leave it like that. And there it is. That's how your 2GR tensioner is. You can actually push on it and it moves. So if you didn't know, now you know. Alright, anyways, that's it for this side of the engine. I'm going to put the intake manifold on now so you guys see something new and we keep moving forward. So let me get that out of the box that I have it stored, and we're going to go start mocking the top of the engine and get the intake manifold on. Alright guys, so this is the good part about doing these videos. I'm actually going back and watching my video when I disassembled this intake manifold to just kind of refresh my memory how I put it back together. So getting back over to the engine, I did mock up the water inlet here, the fill port, because this pipe, I took it out and I just wanted to make sure when I bolted, there are two 10mm bolts here for this black pipe that I painted. So I just wanted to make sure when I bolt it down, it's properly aligned where when I get the water neck on, you know, it was slipping perfectly fine. So I slipped it on, and then I tightened up these 10mm, one right here and one over here, okay? So now I'm gonna remove these bolts. We're gonna remove the covering tape that we had here, and then I'm gonna get the new gasket ready, and then we're gonna move over to the bench. So if I move over to the bench, I have my upper or lower intake manifold, I guess you call it that. This is a bracket that we had made to lift the engine once we're gonna put it in the car. And in here, I have my fuel rail. And I did get these injectors cleaned, and man, did I get raped. The cost of cleaning these things have really gone up, so I spent a pretty penny getting these injectors cleaned. And I'm kind of concerned I cleaned them too early, because I hear you clean them and they sit and they potentially could get clogged from just whatever they use to clean them. But I did tell the guy who did it that basically I'm not going to install the engine like in the next month or so. So he put some type of oil in there, which he says should be fine. So once I start up, I should have no problems. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these injectors installed in the rail. Go ahead, remove the masking tape that I have covering the cylinder over there. And then we're gonna get all this put together. So a lot of stuff coming up, so let's just keep on moving. Alright, I just removed the tape, and I remember I had cleaned all of these runners before, because they were kind of, you know, they had a little bit of sludge in there, not too bad, but I think that's common with a 2GR. And then I'm going Felpro, so we're still gonna support Felpro here. I know we took them off for the valve cover, but we're going Felpro. So that's gonna be for the lower intake manifold gaskets, which are these black ones, and then the blue ones go on the plastic part on the top, which you'll see when we get to that point. But for today, we're gonna try to get these black ones out of here, and that's what we're gonna use on our lower intake manifold here. So let's get these out of the packaging and see how they fit. Alright, so I'll rest these here for now. These are the three, and these actually go, just for reference, they go on the upper intake manifold, which is this guy right here. Alright, so they fit. See where these orange ones are? That's why these blue ones will be. We'll be replacing those with the blue ones. So just save these guys until we get to that point, which we probably won't use these until we actually have the engine installed, and you'll see in a second why. So that you'll have to kind of sit on that for a while. So let's look at these gaskets and let's see how we install these. Looks something like that. So we'll see. Alright. I was saying that I don't think you can really screw these up, and you probably can't, because it tells you right here right side, and this is right bank, left side is the left bank, and we're reading it properly. So that's easy to figure out. So just get these flush, and then we're gonna move over to our manifold here, and we're gonna get that set up. So moving along, guys, nothing too difficult. So let's head over to the bench, see what we got. All right, now if you're following along, you remember my friend Kevin did this lifting mount for me. So we're gonna basically take this up for now, and I'm gonna rest this off to the side because we'll use that when we're installing the engine. And I'm gonna leave this blue tape on here because now we're gonna get this mounted up. I had leveled some of these bosses, so gain a little bit more power per what Frankenstein recommended. And all this stuff was already cleaned out, but essentially what's gonna happen is we're gonna head over to the engine, we're gonna drop this in. Now the injectors, they will end up, I'm gonna pop the injectors in, and they're basically gonna go in these sections right here. So we're gonna pop them in, right? And then we'll install those afterwards. But we got some time on that. First, we gotta get this manifold in, and then we'll move on to the injectors. All right, we got a nice, nicely painted lower intake manifold. So we just basically go here, slip it over, and just like that. Now we're gonna we got 4 nuts and 6 bolts. Gonna put those in. I'm gonna find a torque spec so I can let you guys know. And that's it. We're done here. All we gotta do is get the injectors on next. All right, this is what a clean injector, used injector that was professionally clean looks like. So it's not what's on the outside, but more what's on the inside. And to get them in, I put a little bit of silicone on these O-rings, so they just kind of slip right in and they don't bind. And that's it. Just kind of get them in like that. And now we're gonna bring it over to the engine. Get these guys slipped in. That's it. Alright guys, so let's go. So now we're gonna orient it just the way you took it off. So the regulators on the back here, and you just kind of line them up and just push them in. That's it. Just take your time, get everything in the little grommet, and then just go down easy as that. No, not a lot of pressure required. Now we're gonna get the bolts in here. So we got 2 bolts right here. We're getting 4 bolts, sorry. We're gonna get those in, bolt this down, and that's probably gonna be it for today. But let me grab the bolts and put them in. Alright guys, I got my breather hose back on the top here because I don't want to forget it. And then these are going to be 15 foot-pounds for the 4 injector bolts. So just torque those in. And I think this is a good stopping point for us today. Thank you for hanging in there. I know this is probably one of the longer videos, but I'm happy that we made some progress today. Here's my mount that my buddy Kevin made for me. So it's gonna look, let's see, it goes something like this. So as most of you probably know, if you're doing this, the 2GR does not have a way to lift the engine. At least, well, there is a way, but it's some service brackets Toyota sells that basically goes on this end, on the opposite end, which does not work in MR2 because it is limited space. So if you can make, if you have a friend that can weld like I do, can build something like this, so we'll kind of lift the engine from here to get it in the car, which is part of the reason why that upper intake manifold is not going to go on until we get the engine mounted up inside the vehicle. All right, but that's where we are for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next video we're going to do some grinding and some tapping. So we're going to fix the engine mount on the passenger side, the Frankenstein mount, grind it off so we can get the belt on and off easily if we have to service the car. We're gonna come over to this side of the engine. We're gonna tap these bolts. So get this threaded here and then probably do some grinding on the block. And then we just keep moving. Still gotta get that wire harness as I mentioned in. And I still gotta get some parts from TCS to keep this build moving. But nevertheless, we're moving along. I appreciate you guys. We're very, very close to 1,000 subscribers and I hope you guys can help me get over the hump. So tell your friends about the channel, and if you're watching and not subscribed, help us out and let's get subscribed. And guys, I'll see you guys on the next one.